Loves You by Deborah Ann. Jesus loves you like no other can. He has for you an eternal plan. No one else can come close to the loving kindness he has for you. His love is faithful, it remains true. Forevermore, he loves you. Love unfailing, love everlasting. Beyond your dreams, his love is surpassing. There is no greater love known to man. Jesus loves you like no one can.
And that's why he's my favorite toy of all.
Thank you, Sarah. I remember my special toy that always made me feel safe when I was afraid. Peter, are you ready to tell us about what you brought today?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. My dad is a paramedic.
What's a paramedic?
He's like a doctor who rushes to people who are hurt or sick. He rides on an ambulance and helps people who have been in a car accident or getting hurt at home or at work. And even kids at school remember last year when I fell out of the tree. My dad was one of the paramedics who came and helped me. He was so gentle in the way he took care of me because of the way they carefully moved me and protected my leg. I am now able to walk. A lot of people say my dad is a hero, and I think he is too.
Thank you, Peter. Class, we should all write thank you letters to our firemen and paramedics for how brave they are for us every day. David, are you ready to tell us what you brought?
My grandfather used to work on the railroad. His job was walking the tracks and making sure the track was safe and all the nails were hammered down good and safe. That's all.
David, that's amazing. Class, building the train tracks began a very long time ago, early in the 1800s. These spikes were and still are very important for the safety of the trains. Mary, are you ready to tell us what you brought?
Yes, ma'am. My mommy is a baker. I love to help in the bakery. It's like magic. She puts together a few ingredients and gets so much bread out of it. There is always some left over every day, and she gives it to the poor.
Mary has brought bread for all of you to try. Mary, can you give it out to everyone while Johnny comes up and shows us what he brought today?
My daddy is a preacher. Last Sunday, he gave everyone in the church one of these tree branches. Daddy talked about how Jesus rode into town just as a king would. As the crowd saw him coming, kings rode on donkeys. As the crowd saw him coming, they loved him and wanted to cover the streets with their coats and branches from the trees. Remember that they didn't have paved roads back then. The roads were dirt. They were showing their respect to Jesus by covering the road so he wouldn't get dirty. I don't want to tell you everything Daddy preached about because it's really sad, but it has a happy ending. After those terrible people beat up Jesus and used big nails to kill him, they put him in a tomb. But guess what? 3 days later, his tomb was empty and everyone stopped crying because he was alive. This is really big.
Johnny, you are so right. This is really big. Jesus did suffer a terrible death for us so that one day we can all be in heaven with him. You know, class, everything you brought today reminds me of Jesus. Sarah, your teddy bear reminds us of how very special children are to Jesus. Peter's daddy reminds me of how Jesus is our greatest healer. Is there anything else that you brought with you today that reminds you of Jesus?
I know.
Mary?
It's our Bible verse this week.
That's right, Mary. It's Mark chapter 6, verse 31 through 34. Let's read it. It's called the feeding of the 5,000. And he said to them, Come with me privately to an isolated place and rest a while." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a remote place. But many people saw them leaving and recognized them, and they hurried on foot from all the towns and arrived there ahead of them. As Jesus came ashore, he saw a large crowd, and he had compassion on them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he taught them many things. When it was late, his disciples came to him and said, "This is an isolated place, and it is very late. Send them away so they can go into the surrounding countryside and villages and buy something to eat." But Jesus answered them and said, "Give them something to eat." And they said, "Should we go out and buy bread for 200 silver coins and give it to them to eat?" And he said, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they went out, they said, just 5 loaves and 2 fish. Then he directed them to all sit down in groups on the green grass. So they reclined in groups in hundreds and 50s. And he took those 5 loaves and those 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks, and he broke those loaves. And he gave them to the disciples to serve all the people. And he divided the 2 fish among them. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up all the broken pieces of bread and fish that were left over. And there were 12 baskets full. Now that was a miracle. There were 5,000 men who ate bread that day. Awesome, yeah? All right, class, that's all for today. Let's don't forget tomorrow is Patriots Day. We need to come dressed in our costumes.
If Jesus had not risen, what sad shape would I be in? If he did not ascend into heaven, I would be dead in my sin. If Jesus had not risen, my faith would be for naught. If he remained in the tomb, my transgressions he couldn't blot. If Jesus had not risen, I would have nothing to live for. If he did not sit on the throne, where would I be forevermore? If Jesus had not risen, I would be lost and miserable. If Jesus had said no, my life would be unbearable.